What's going on, world? DS1 Ross, and I'm back. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody who support me and who support this platform. My bad, y'all. Pardon me on that. But we back here, Sheep Stay Sleep TV. Before we get into tonight's show, I need you to like the video and share the stream. Like the stream, share the stream. This is the fourth installment of the Black History Month series of 2020. You could go to the playlist section of my channel and check out installments 1 through 3. And tonight we got a good one, y'all. We got a good one. And it's crazy how I even found this person. It's crazy. Um Tonight we're gonna talk about Warren C. Coleman. And as y'all can see, to some people, he may not look black. Some people probably looking like, hold on, is this dude black? But he is. He is. And tonight we're gonna get into this brother because, like I said, when I create my list for each year, right? What I do is I try to come up with historians that are not spoken on. There's a lot of history, man, that we have that will never be talked about. So it's our job to bring it to our people, man. Bring it to the forefront, bring it to the light. Because there could be a lot of history within your neighborhood that you don't even know about. That's how, that's how real shit can be sometimes in life. You may think, that you in a certain kind of neighborhood and you don't know what kind of neighborhood you in. You know what I'm saying? And I just started doing that myself because originally, I'm gonna just give y'all a little backstory about myself. My old neighborhood, well, it's not my old neighborhood, but my neighborhood back in New York, it's a very unique block. The way my block was created, it was created by the Kennedys. Kennedys designed my block. My block has a park in the middle of it, which separates my block to two different halves. One half is on one avenue and another half is on another avenue. So if you live on one side of the block, your address is going to be one thing. If you live on the other side, your address is going to be another thing. The between streets are going to be different. It's the same avenue, but the between street is different. And that is something I didn't know growing up. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Grinch with that donation. He say, shout out to DS1, the spirit of the people. You already know, bro. You already know. Appreciate that, man. And as I got older, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know. My block is also considered a super block. There's an association that created my block. My block was very political, dealing with low level politics. And I didn't know this growing up. So as I got older, I started to just look at certain things, look into certain things. So how I found out about this brother is one day I'm in the mall. Crazy. I'm in the mall and I'm looking around in the mall and I'm like, I see a bunch of like historical pictures and stuff. So I'm standing out there and I'm just reading. I'm like, who is this person? So I'm reading about this person. I'm like, oh shit, this is a black dude. Now, also in the county that this mall is in, there's an avenue named after him, Warren C. Coleman Boulevard. And I'm like, oh, that's the connection. That's why they named a whole boulevard after this brother. And it was a black man. I was surprised. There's a lot of black history in North Carolina. You know, little do we know. There's a lot of black history here in North Carolina, man. Shout out to Gab on a donation. He said, big little bro. Appreciate the donation, yeah. Appreciate the donation, man. And but we need to start looking at where we live and trying to figure out or find out the history of just where we live, man. Because you'll be surprised. Because like I said, this is a boulevard where every time it's in a county that's not too far away from where I live. So every time I'm driving down this boulevard, now I know that this boulevard is named after a black man. I didn't know this. I never even thought that we would have so much rich history in the South. And I'm gonna probably do a dissertation too about free black men that was in the South. Because one day I was at the bank. I'm in Wells Fargo one day, and I'm reading like the brochures and shit while I'm waiting to speak to somebody. And they had a bunch of black history in there. I'm like, hold on. They start going into the free black men, the black men who weren't slaves that were right here in North Carolina. I didn't know all of this stuff. I'm like, wow, man. And then the other night when Angry Man was touching on the black history that's in Raleigh, then I found out that there was there were other, well-to-do black folk out in Wilmington, North Carolina. I didn't know all of this stuff, man. This is why it's important to read, like my man Grit said. It's important that we read, man. Just me sitting there reading a brochure in the bank put me on to more history from our people, man. That's crazy. So I definitely wanted to touch on that before I got into the whole dissertation tonight, because that's how I found out about the brother Warren C. Coleman. So let's get into it. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button and share the show, man. Share the show. Hit the like button, share the show. Now let's get into it. Coleman was born into slavery in 1849 in Cabarrus County. Now, that is the county where they named this boulevard after him. It's in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. He was born into slavery. Once again, we dealing now from one, so far, the only person who wasn't born into slavery was George Jackson. But everybody who I read so far, their parents were slaves or even they were slaves. Keep that in mind, because that's very important. Coleman was born into slavery in 1849 in Cabarrus County. His mother, Roxana Coleman, was of mixed race. This is why, and shout out to my sis Kels. I seen her in the chat when she put the brother look white. This is why he's so fair skinned, because his mother was mixed. Roxana Coleman was of mixed race and held by a planter, Daniel Coleman Sr., and his wife, Mary Coleman. She took their surname. His white father was Rufus Clay Barringer. Then a young unmarried attorney whose family lived near the Colemans. It's all slave stuff. Barringer became a politician and later a Confederate general during the American Civil War. Warren and his older brother, Thomas Clay, were both fathered by Barringer before the attorney married in 1854. Their mother had another illegitimate son, Joseph Smith. After breaking with Barringer, Coleman's mother married John F. Young, an enslaved, skilled blacksmith who was held by another owner nearby. Generally, the master of the slave husband would buy the wife so the family could be united on one plantation. But Daniel Coleman bought Young, who lived with his wife, Roxana, and her children at his plantation. Warren Coleman is believed to have learned shoemaking and barbering skills while a youth on the Coleman plantation, both of which were considered good trades in those years. He later used these skills in his work for the Confederate Army as a boot and shoemaker. White men who had mixed race sons sometimes tried to prepare them through the apprenticeships for such trades by which they could support themselves as free men. Let me read that again. White men who had mixed race children, no, mixed race mixed race sons, sometimes try to prepare them through apprenticeships for such trades by which they can support themselves as free men. After the war, Warren Coleman was freed. So Warren Coleman was a free man. He was a free man. Warren Coleman was freed, but bound in a 2-year apprenticeship indenture to William M. Coleman until he came of age in 1867. Coleman was a planter lawyer in Cabarrus County, who later became the state attorney general, and he served as a patron of the younger man. After that, Coleman moved to Alabama seeking economic opportunities. He returned to Cabarrus County the next year and established his first business, collecting rags, bones, and junk for resale and disposal. In 1873 to 1874, he went to Washington, D.C., where he attended the model school at Howard University to learn more about business, a period of study supported by William Coleman. So when he went to school, William Coleman basically paid for him to go. After his return to Concord, Concord is the city that's in Cabarrus County. There's a couple of little cities or whatever that's in Cabarrus County. Couple of little areas. Concord is one of them. After his return to Concord, Coleman was likely aided by his father, Beringer, who had a law practice in Concord and Charlotte until 1871, and likely also by William Coleman. For instance, the younger Coleman bought land from the Beringer family. Over the next 25 years, Warren Clay Coleman became one of the richest merchants of color in the state. His first land purchase was a 130-acre wooded farm in Cabarrus. His business ventures later expanded to include a mercantile store located on Main Street in Concord. The county seat in 1875, he married Jane E. Jones. He also started a grocery store specializing in teas, coffee, sugar, syrups, molasses, cakes, and candies. In 1879, Coleman combined his two stores, and his general store became one of the city's major shops. He built inexpensive worker housing for more than 100 rental houses in the African American section of town over the following decades, and a residential rental company to manage them. They housed numerous migrants to Concord from rural areas. Coleman's status as the son of Rufus Clay Beringer, who took an interest and advised the ambitious young man, and the relationships he established with other influential whites, are thought to have helped his making these initial investments. So what are they telling us? That his network, you ever heard this statement? your net worth is based on your network. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. In the 1890s, Coleman worked with black capitalists. Let me repeat that. Since we think, black people are not capitalists. And it's so wrong for you to be a capitalist. In the 1890s, in the 1890s, Coleman worked with black capitalists. African American educator Booker T. Washington and prominent white leaders, especially Washington Duke of Durham, North Carolina, to organize and build the nation's first African American owned and operated textile factory. Let me read that again. In the 1890s, Coleman worked with black capitalists, African American educator Booker T. Washington, and prominent white leaders, especially Washington Duke of Durham, North Carolina, to organize and build the nation's first African American owned and operated textile factory. At the time, blacks were generally excluded as textile workers from white owned mills. And Coleman and his partners wanted to create industrial opportunity for the black community. The company was incorporated in 1895, in 1896, and chartered by the state. At the height of its operations, the Coleman Manufacturing Company employed more than 300 African American workers in, in a 96,000 square foot, 3-story brick building. It had assets worth $100,000. Because of an increase in cotton prices and other factors, the mill struggled financially and was closed after Coleman's death in 1904. It was sold to the other parties. Although the mill passed out of black ownership after Coleman's death, its operation with black workers opened doors for others. Superior Court Judge Clarence Horton of Cabarrus County has noted that when a hosiery factory opened in 1913, it employed black seamstresses and other workers, unlike many white-owned mills in the South. In 1900, Coleman was the richest person of color in the county and state. He was the richest person in North Carolina. In his county, in Cabarrus County, and the whole goddamn state. A black man in the South. Historian Norman J. McCullough Sr. who is working on a biography of the businessman, contends he was the richest African American in the country, noting that other black men became millionaires after the 1900s. After 1900. Hmm. But, but you know, the consensus is, black men are what? Got to do some history, man. That's why I love doing this. Coleman owned property along Concord's Depot Street, now Cabarrus Avenue, and on Lincoln and Springs Streets. He established a church called Price Temple so that people working for him could have a church close by. He also donated money to other black churches, Rock Hill and Zion Hill AME Zion churches in Concord, to encourage education amongst African Americans. Coleman subsidized tuition for students at Howard University, Livingstone College, and Shaw University, all historically black colleges. This was a mixed man. He was mixed. His father was a white man. He did the same thing. He did something similar that Robert F. Smith just did. But everybody talks shit about what Robert F. Smith did because he had a white wife. This black man did it back in the goddamn 1800s. He did it back then. He half white. His mama black. His daddy white. But we talk shit about Robert F. Smith. What about Warren C. Coleman, who was half white? And if we go off the instance that you are what your father is, he will be considered a white man. But of course, they don't look at him as a white man. He was classified as an African American, but he was a free black man who got help from his white constituents. And he created housing for black people. He created a church for black people. And he even gave up money for the education of black people. Half white. To encourage education among African Americans, Coleman subsidized tuition for students at Howard University, Livingstone College. Livingstone is down here in North Carolina. It's in Salisbury. And Shaw University, all historically black colleges. He also helped support the African American orphanage in Oxford, North Carolina. Warren C. Coleman was an African American businessman in South Central North Carolina, known as a founder of the Coleman Manufacturing Company, which built one of the first black owned and operated textile mills in the United States. the Coleman Franklin Cannon Mill still stands in Concord, North Carolina, and was listed on the National Registry of Historical Places in 2015. Born into slavery, Coleman learned shoemaking and barbering before he became a freed man. So this is the life of a great black man that nobody ever talks about. Whoever knew, I never even knew about it. This is why I said in the beginning of the show, man, you got to just start investigating where you live. Because this is how I found the brother. Like I said, every time I'm in that area, we're driving down Warren C. Coleman Boulevard. I'm in the mall one day, and then I'm reading about this guy. And according to history, he was the first black millionaire. First black millionaire. But how many people ever talk about it? How many people you ever see talk about it? How many? Is that, why isn't that popular? Talk about these people. You understand? Why isn't this person talked about? This guy is very important to our history. And I'm glad I was able to share this brother with y'all, because he did something that black people weren't allowed to do back in those times. You know, he owned an entire mill, textile mill. He owned real estate. He owned land. He owned a lot of stuff, man. First African American millionaire. He was a millionaire in the 1900s. 1900. He died in 1904. Died in 1904. And even though when he died, you know, it went back to, you know, the white investors who was down with him in the business, but they still paid homage to him. They didn't erase his name off of everything and just write him off out of history. Today, the mill is known as it's basically a historical spot to go to. So if you come to this section of North Carolina and you looking for some kind of history, you can find it. You can go to his mill. You see what I'm saying? This is why it's important, man, that we learn our history. And we have to understand that our history goes beyond what we're being told. We have to stop thinking that our history just consists of what we were told in school. We have a very rich and deep history, man. And our history, what I'm starting to see is that our history is a lot deeper in the South than it is up north. Because you know, up north is where a lot of the slaves wanted to go because they felt like it was better opportunity up north. You see? And now I understand why a lot of the Southerners were mad at a lot of the people from up north, because they felt like if we would have stayed in the South with them, we could have owned a lot more as a people. Because see, what the slaves did was they left the South to go up north for jobs. They didn't go up there to own anything. See, the black people in the South were the ones who was owning things. We got to understand that. We left to go get jobs. We didn't leave to go and own anything. We wanted to go up north and work in corporate America. When the people who stayed in the South were the ones who took over things, they owned shit. I didn't notice. Why? Because I was born up north. But my family roots are in the South. My dad is from Georgia. I got family from all over. But if you go back to the origins, it all originated in the South. All my people. All my people. So we really need to just start, like I said, just start with where you live. You may live in an area that was black owned at one point. You may not even know that. So let's just start there. And then you could go on to your county, then your state. Because a lot of us don't even know where we live. You know? We think the neighborhood is what it is and it always been the way it was. We don't know that. We got to do our history. Let's do our history, people. You don't know where you live. You don't know who owned where you live at one point. Our history is very rich and it's deep. So let me read a little bit of these comments. Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all go ahead and hit the donations up, man. Cash App $ Sheep Stay Sleep TV. Cash App $ Sheep Stay Sleep TV. We left our land in the country to go live in the city, only for the other race to buy that land and move in the country. That's true. That's a fact. That is because, like I said, a lot of them, a lot of us just wanted higher pay for our jobs. Yeah, that's a fact, free will. That's a fact. We could be living in black owned towns and don't even know it. Don't even know. Don't even know it, man. The block you live on, the blocks you could be driving down every day. Don't even know, man. And they don't want us to think in this way. Because when we begin to think like that and start investigating and learning our history, it gives us what it does is it gives us confidence. We begin to look at ourselves and value ourselves more because what we know what we come from. Now we know where we come from. Not where, but what. We don't come from bums. We don't come from us being lazy and complacent. We don't come from that. But that is the narrative they've taught us for so long. Oh, black people are lazy. They don't want nothing out of life. They don't have no ambition. But we don't come from that. And this is why I do this series. I really do it not just for the adults to learn, but mainly for y'all children. Because the children need to know about these people. So it can breed positivity into them. And then they will begin to exemplify that. See, if all you know is you come from your mama and your father, and you look at their situation, that what that can do is that can kill your drive in life. Because it's like, damn, why should I strive to be anymore? But see, when you start to learn your history, that gives you a reason to. That gives you a reason to strive to be a business owner, to be independent. You ain't gotta work for nobody. You can do business with these people. We've always done it. Here's one of the here's the first black millionaire ever. He did business with white folk. They were his partners in business. He did business with black capitalists. But we try to demonize capitalism. That's because we not in the game. When you're not in the game, you don't understand how it works. See, he understood that. He learned the game because he was around the game because who his father was. See? So we can learn and be inspired by this brother's story. And like I said, this is a brother that I found out about walking through the goddamn mall, just reading shit on the walls in the mall. How many of y'all even do that? How many of y'all even pay attention to that when y'all walking through the mall? How many of y'all even do that? It's history all around you. Your history is surrounding you. You don't even know that. Your block could be a goddamn gold mine. You don't even know that. This man was the richest in his county and the entire state of North Carolina. He was the richest person, a black man, a mixed man. He was mixed, but he was considered to be African American. A millionaire in 1900. He was a millionaire. He was a millionaire. This is why history is so important for us, man. Very important. Very important. Shout out to Kings, the God of Law. Salute. Salute. Peace, God. He said, yup, I'm out here making it happen. Indeed. Indeed, man. Indeed. For sure. For sure. Sis, we gotta, man. This inspires me. See, when I do this series, I learn a lot too. Because I start to think like, damn, the state of our people today, and we're not in the form of slavery that these people were in, but we act like we are. We got in episode 1, installment 1 of this series, we talked about Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, who was also born into slavery. Her husband were both of her husbands were slaves. She experienced heavy segregation, racism, bias, prejudice, all of that, and still became the first Black woman doctor. We just finished talking about Paul Robeson, a Renaissance man, known all over the world. And I graduated from his high school in Brooklyn, New York. Dealt with heavy amounts of segregation and racism. Still was able to be known worldwide. Worldwide. George Jackson, BGF, talked about him last night. That is what helped spawn the Black Panthers. So what is the problem with us today? One of the problems is we don't understand our history. We don't understand the stories behind our freedom fighters. We don't. We only understand about the people we were taught in school. Benjamin Banneker, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, W.E.B. Du Bois. And there's nothing wrong with them people. But you have to understand that they created that so we can't see past those people. That is them giving us our history, when our history is much deeper and much profound than that. Oh, word? You graduated from South Shore? Salute. That's right. Learn your history, not his story. And this is why I do this, man. This is why I do it every year, and I'm going to continue to do it. So shout out to y'all tonight. Much love to y'all. I appreciate all the love and the support. Go ahead and hit the Cash App up. $ Sheep Stay Sleep TV. $ Sheep Stay Sleep TV. I appreciate all the love and the support. Shout out to everybody who donated tonight. Make sure you like the stream, share the stream. Let's get this message out, man. This message is just as important as anything else, man. Check out the playlist section. Black History Month series of 2020. That's where all the videos will be located after I finish the series. Go and check out installments 1 through 3. Also, check out the Deacons of Defense. I did a stream about them. Make sure y'all go and check that out too. So I appreciate the love and the support. I'm your host, DS1 Ross of Sheep Stay Sleep TV, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace.